Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Good morning. The sun is barely up behind me. I'm ready to tackle the rear design of the GTR 50 today. Last video, we redesigned the front of it. It was a lot of fun. I think this video is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because there are a few more things in the rear that I want to fix, to say the least. But GTR Design has made a beautiful job creating this concept car. It's a canvas for me to work on and kind of make it into the GTR that I want it to be like. But first of all, I want to show you the current GTR because there are a few features on that car that I want to bring over to this new one. I really like the current GTR simply for the fact that it looks like it's been chiseled out of stone almost in the rear. It looks really solid, and I want to take that solidity, or whatever it's called, and move that over to the new design. I'm gonna show you in Photoshop now what I'm talking about. Alright, so let me quickly show you what I love about the current GTR and what I want to take over, kind of bring over to the new design. So this is obviously the current GTR. And the thing I like about it is that it's very solid. The rear looks like a solid piece that's been, as if this was an extrusion of the car right here going this way. And then they took a katana sword and just cut it off right here and created this surface here that's very flat. But at the same time, they made it look interesting because they have all these styling parts in here. Even this license plate indent right there is creating some motion in this flat surface. And also, I love that it's tilted a little bit, bent a little bit this way. So that creates almost like an integrated spoiler at the top here. That's something that I definitely want to integrate in the new design. So if we compare this design with the GTR Design concept, what we have is we lose that solid feeling of it. You know, this to me, it looks like a current GTR that's been sitting too long in the sun, and all of a sudden the rear just started to melt. That's kind of the feeling I get when I look at this. And one important thing that I think is lacking here to add to the solid, you know, the solidity of the GTR and the rawness and the strength of the rear is this bottom part here. You see this indent here, or this lack of material right here. That just adds weakness to this design, because when you have different parts like this that are not, it doesn't look like they belong together, and it's even more amplified with the fact when you think about the fact that this whole section is a different color. So it kind of separates the two, the bottom and the top part of the rear, and that to me it creates weakness. So what I want to do in this redesign is solidify the whole back. So make this whole rear go down, bring it lower to the ground, and work on these surfaces here that I don't like a lot because they're too, it doesn't look like they have any definition to it. It looks like a fluid, you know, it looks like melted cheese or melted plastic, and we need some more definition because this is a GTR. It's not supposed to be weak looking. It has to be a strong design language and a solid, almost like a monument in the rear, to kind of build up the power that these cars have. So that's what we're gonna do in the new design right now. Alright, enough talking, and let's jump into Photoshop and redesign this rear of the GTR Design GTR 50. So that's the issue that I had with the main issue that I have with the rear is that it doesn't have any definition to it, and it looks like it doesn't have any confidence to it. So we're gonna add some confidence to the rear, because as you know, it's a GTR, so the rear is pretty much the main thing that you're going to see when you see this car out on the streets. Now, if you look at the current GTR, they have this panels. I call them panels at each of the corner at the rear. They're not any intakes or outlets. They're just panels, kind of visual. Some people make them black to make them look, I think, like air outlets, but I wanted to integrate those in the new design here and create actual holes in the bumper for those panels, and that's what we did here. When I did that, I realized at the top around the surface that's very fluid around the rear taillights, it's not gonna work. It doesn't work with the lower part, so we have to add definition to that part as well. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. And as always, we want to have some thickness to every single piece, so we need to add shading and highlights and all of that good stuff to every single change that we make. Otherwise it's not gonna look real, and it's gonna look like it's just a bad Photoshop job, and we don't want that, of course. Now these holes are kind of big, so I want to add something of interest inside of these holes. This can be whatever. It doesn't have to look like this, but it has to be something that just kind of teases that there's something going on inside of there. And that's what I'm doing with that panel right in the middle of it. Same thing here, I'm adding the highlights to the surfaces that are facing the light source, and the light source is up to you to decide where you want the light source to be. Or in this case, I already have the light source because I'm using a photo, so the light source is already set for me. And we also need to add some cast shadows on these panels that are inside of the air outlets, because we have the top of the bumper, and we have the light coming from the top. The top of the bumper, the bar that goes behind underneath the taillights, that's going to cast a shadow on whatever is underneath it. And as always, we need the symmetry here, so I'm replicating what I did on one side and then do it in perspective accordingly to how this photo is, you know, the angle of the photo. I need to get that right. And as I said in the intro, I wanted to add this integrated ducktail to the rear, because it's a tiny detail, but to me it makes a big difference to the... It just adds some sharpness to the rear of the design, and I really like that, so I wanted to integrate that in this new design as well. Right now I'm just cleaning up the surfaces, because the material, the original material, had some interesting textures to it that created a lot of weird reflections, and I didn't want that on the final design. I wanted to be clean material with no... it almost looks like a candy finish on the original design, and I don't want that in this one. So I just went over everything with airbrush, as I did with the front view as well, to just kind of smooth out the whole surface and make it look like one type of material and one type of finish. And right here I'm just adding the final details to this redesign. Also had the side vent right behind the front wheel, and right behind the front wheel and right in front of the door. That was I did that in the front view as well. I'm gonna link that video in the description below if you want to go check that out. I think it's easier to understand the rear here if you check the front view out first, because this design language is gonna make more sense that way. Final touches. I don't want it to be gray. It's too gray for me, so I want to add a little bit of a hint of blue to this car, and it works really well when you have a cool shade on one side and then you add some warmer shade on the other side. It's a cool dynamic to the sketch. And a final touch, as always, is to sign your work and add some contrast to the car, and that's what I'm doing right now, sharpening everything up. And this is the before and after. I think the after looks a lot more confident, and it has that GTR feeling to it. And here is the final result, the before and after. As I said in the beginning, the main purpose for this redesign was to add confidence to the rear and add definition to it, and that's exactly what we did. So I'm gonna quickly show you here by sketching on this top view what we did. We added the more definition to this part. That was the big issue, this whole surface right here. And also, I don't like the gold color because it separates the rear from the rest of the car. It works on any other, it probably works really well on different cars, but not on a GTR. So that's what I wanted to change as well. Same thing here, I don't like this part here that's missing from the bottom because it looks weak. So what we wanted to do is just create a more solid diffuser at the rear and bring it down visually. We're not bringing it down physically, but visually when we add material to it, it looks like it's more planted to the ground. And of course, these big intakes right here, And that is actually taken from the current GTR, which have those panels, but they're not open, but I wanted to open them up right here. And final touch was the intake or the outlet on the side here, make that a little bit more pronounced. It's basically a supercar, the GTR. So all these features and the intakes and the wings, they should be a bit exaggerated, and that's what I wanted to do there. So that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed making it. And here's the thing, I'm trying to reach 200,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And obviously I'm going to need your help to realize that goal. So if you like these kind of videos, hit the subscribe button, because I'm gonna pump these out. I have a list, as I've said before, of your suggestions on what car to redesign. I appreciate your support, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy.